Hello Nigeria, I am Becky Madujemu. Welcome to your favorite news magazine program, Newsline. Now, I must say that 2020 has been quite the year. The coronavirus has the world's population in the trenches, while crime rate in Nigeria is still not on the decline. Just like you, we look forward to more cheering happenings, but, as it were, we can't afford to ignore activities of the outlaws. To this end, we shall update you on several stories. The 5-year-old girl who had one of her fingers chopped off by her mother will feature. There's a new dimension to the plot. Then the rape cases are ongoing, the confessions are sordid, and the police is closing in on perpetrators, as you will see. Meanwhile, highlights of the final farewell by the Nigerian Air Force for the nation's first female combat helicopter pilot, Tolulope Aritele, will be projected. We have lined up so much to keep you captivated for the entire duration of the program, and they will come after the news by Elizabeth Omori, who is sitting pretty in Abuja for the news.
So much, Becky. You look beautiful as well. Let's begin with transportation. After more than 4 months of shutdown arising from COVID-19, there are indications that Abuja-Kaduna Rail Station will resume business on Wednesday, July the 29th. Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, gave the indication during the inspection of new coaches for Abuja-Kaduna Rail Line, adding that strict compliance with COVID-19 health advisory are already ensured. Oluseye Adiagbo has details.
For 4 months, these ambience were silent as COVID-19 altered train services on the 186.5 kilometers Abuja-Kaduna route. Within that period, new coaches and locomotives arrived, and the lockdown eased subject to the observance of the non-pharmaceutical protocols. Now, the Nigerian Railway Corporation is ready to resume, but a test run has to be done. Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, is leading the process. Satisfied with the measures put in place in compliance with the PTF directives, as well as the new coaches and locomotives, the minister says train services will resume, but with 100% increase in fare.
And I'm happy that we've received more coaches than we have had before. The new fares, first class, 6,000 naira, business class 5,000, economy 3,000.
The governor of Kaduna State is also welcoming the changes.
I have always held the view that the fares were too low, and that's what has led to the racketeering. So why shouldn't the government capture that? So it is quite right. I fully support the decision by the federal government to increase the fares.
Managers of Abuja-Kaduna Rail Line say they are set to get the station running again, explaining mechanism already in place for an efficient and effective train business.
The good news is that after some time, we'll go from 18 trains per day by 7 return trips from Kaduna to Abuja.
The new lines we are opening now are tailored to form a network that will really support economy of the country in terms of making them a very effective backbone for industries.
With this progress already made and activities for resumption getting set for Wednesday, Nigerians, especially the locals, are already salivating at the prospect of resumption of the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. From Regasa Rail Station, Oluseye Adiagbo, NTA News.
To aviation matters, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirik, has approved 8 additional airports across the country to resume full domestic flight operations. This brings to 14 the number of domestic airports operating. Sirik had made this known on his Twitter handle when he stated that ministerial approvals in and out of those airports were not required. The 8 airports approved for resumption of domestic flight operations are Victor Atta Airport, Uyo, Kaduna Airport, Yola Airport, Margaret Airport, Calabar, Sultan Abubakar Airport, Sokoto, Benin Kebbi Airport, Yakubu Gowon Airport, Jos, and Benin Airport. The approval also includes private and charter operations. The public will be informed of the other airports in due course. Now, the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs congratulates Muslims on the occasion of the 2020 Eid-el-Kabir and urges them to use the advantage of having 3 sermons for Hajj, Eid-el-Kabir and Juma to pray for divine intervention and an end to insecurity and COVID-19 pandemic in the world. In a statement signed by the Deputy Secretary General, Professor Salisu Shehu, the Council, which admonishes the Ummah to observe the Sunnah of fasting on Arafat Day, seek Allah's favor during this sacred period, also advised Muslims to observe the prayers in their area mosques, where large congregational prayers are not allowed, and all non-pharmaceutical protocols be strictly adhered to. To intending pilgrims unable to perform Hajj this year due to COVID-19, the Council recommends that they consider using part of their funds for charitable causes that are capable of earning them the reward of Hajj and much more. The Supreme Council reiterates the need for peaceful coexistence and continuous strive in the cause of Allah to earn His mercies. Still on the celebration, to achieve a crash and hitch-free 2020 Salah celebration, the Corps Marshal Federal Road Safety Corps, Dr. Boboye Oyemi, has approved massive deployment of personnel across the nation's roads and directed commanding officers to collaborate with COVID-19 task force teams and security agencies to ensure maximum compliance with established directives to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Speaking further on the special patrol, which will commence on July 29 and end on August 8, 2020, Oyemi says the special patrol is necessary to tackle any upsurge in road traffic volume and mitigate the attendant risk on road traffic crashes while curtailing the spread of COVID-19 cases nationwide. The Corps Marshal further instructs commanding officers to apprehend any vehicle caught in the act of overloading their vehicles with both persons and goods, and the traffic offenders should be prosecuted in the already established mobile courts across the Federation. It calls on all Nigerians to be alert and exhibit required road discipline before, during, and after their celebrations. And out to security matters, the Nigerian Navy has flagged up Exercise Calm Water 2 to sustain the fight against all forms of criminal acts in the nation's maritime environment in the Gulf of Guinea. Adjola Koni Akere reports that the exercise took off simultaneously in 3 commands of the Nigerian Navy.
To flag off Operation Okualafia 2 for the benefit of enhanced maritime security in Nigeria.
The exercise Okun Alafia 2, which literally means Calm Waters 2, is a 30-day-long operation. It will cover the country's exclusive economic zone, that is the 200 nautical miles to sea. The exercise is targeted at consolidating on the gains of previous operations while collaborating with other commands to make it impossible for criminals to operate within the areas of responsibility of the 3 commands, as well as improving Gulf of Guinea law enforcement capacity.
Every activity that is taking place at sea, the ultimate goal is on land and the benefits. So, within the creeks, within the channels, and the adjoining land areas, the operational bases and the forward operational bases will be conducting clearance operations to take the battle to the criminal hideouts to ensure that we deny them that freedom of action to even relocate, to move to sea to perpetrate their nefarious activity.
The exercise is also extended to the nation's backwaters.
When anybody come my ship, I no go lower my ladder.
A total of 6 ships, 2 helicopters, and a detachment of the Special Boat Service are participating in the exercise. In Lagos, Adeyola Komiakiri, NTA News. Lagos.
Meanwhile, the chairman, CEO of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, has applauded the exemplary conduct and outstanding character of Lieutenant Victor Agunbiade, a Nigerian in the U.S. Navy, for being a good ambassador of the country. In a congratulatory message, the NATCOM boss commends Agumbiade's outstanding behavior that earned him a medal for his military service from the U.S. Navy, where he effectively managed the U.S. Navy's large cash disbursing office, which accounted for 70% of its overseas disbursing volume, handling $45 million in cash transaction without any hitch. The NATCOM boss notes that this is not the first time Agumbiade will be making Nigeria proud with his exemplary character, as he was named the Navy's 2018 Officer Recruiter of the Year alongside 17 others and honored at the Annual Recruiter of the Year ceremony in Washington, D.C. With this exceptional behavior and dedication to duty, Abike Dabiri Erewa expresses Nigeria's pride over his act, saying he reflects a positive image for Nigeria and Nigerians in diaspora, and urges him to continue to extol the virtues and strengths of the Nigerian heritage of excellence, honesty, integrity and honor, while standing as a shining beacon inspiring Nigeria youth. To electoral matters now, following the clash that occurred between the two major parties in September Edo governorship election, spokespersons for the political parties have reiterated the need for the rule of law to be upheld by all stakeholders between now and the end of the election. This was during separate briefings to newsmen in Benin.
At the APC briefing, the National Vice Chairman, Media and Communication, Patrick Obahiagbon, alleged plans by the state government to subvert the election and intimidate decisive figures or any suspected supporters of the APC. He sued for an enabling environment in which all candidates can pursue their ambition without overt intimidation.
After the palace incident, APC supporters and our party members wearing Pastor Osagie Izeyamu's caps and t-shirts were physically assaulted in the streets of Benin. And we have those willing to testify to this brazen act of unprovoked street assault.
Meanwhile, the PDP South Vice Chairman Chief Dan Obi has condemned the alleged attack of its members at the Palace of the Oba of Benin and destruction of PDP billboards.
I also want to place on record that after we left the palace, those who were wearing PDP caps and the PDP emblem, they were attacked, their cars were destroyed.
While calling for the perpetrators to be brought to book, he enjoined those personalizing the September 19 election to desist and instead put the peace and development of the state first. In Benin, Obahi Otoba Presai, NTA News.
Away from electoral matters, a ravaging flood resulting from Saturday's early morning rainfall has sacked a community in Giri along the Gwagwalada University of Abuja Staff Quarters Highway. Elias Onotu Yakubu reports that the flood disaster washed away a household with family of 5.
5:30 in the morning, just while the all-night heavy downpour was receding. The overwhelmed residents said the flash flood made its way from the hillside of the highway, sweeping through whatever was in its path.
The one happened 2015 is not be like this. This very one, it just came to, just by 6 o'clock, this thing we don't even aware anything. Before I just come out to my door, water don't enter my door.
From what members of the community told me, there were a number of houses erected starting from where I am standing right now to as far back as behind me and even across the river on the other side. But as a result of this early morning flood, the houses have been washed away, leaving the place a flat land. Abdusalam Ouda Muhammad is a staff of NTA International, and his house is amongst the tens of victims of the flood disaster. A household comprising a mother and her 4 children were washed away by the flood.
There's nothing anybody could have done because it was very early in the morning when every other person were trying to save or rescue him or herself. So they were so unfortunate they couldn't make it out.
As at the time of filing this report, search and rescue operation is still on by operatives of the FCT Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to trace the mother of the household and 3 of her children. Ilyasu Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Let's now take you to Adamawa, where the state government is taking drastic measures against building on waterways to safeguard lives and property of its citizens. Commissioner of Information and Strategy Umar Garba Pela stated this as Simon Asha monitors the devastating effects of yearly flooding in the state.
Samunaka, a residential area at the outskirts of Yola, the Adamawa state capital, on normal days, especially during the dry season, people of the area go about their socio-economic activities devoid of hitches as they try to make ends meet. However, as the rainy season set in, the people often sleep with one of their eyes open due to the devastating effect of flood occasioned by frequent rainfall as the waters overflows into the area each time it rains, destroying houses, farmlands, among other valuables worth hundreds of thousands.
This is not the first time, it's not the second time. It is an issue of years after years. And we have been complaining about it.
Similar scenario at Rundabaru, Angomakera, Tashansani, and Bachure communities, among other flood-prone settlements across the metropolitan city of Yola. National strategy, Adamawa State, Umar Garbapela, who attributed the flood in the state to the nonchalant attitude of people who build on waterways, says the state government has put on modalities to find a lasting solution to the situation.
Government every year set up a technical committee to look at this situation.
Unless the people desist from building on waterways, each year they have to be counting their losses. As the saying goes, water will always find its way. In Yola, Simon Asha, NTA News.
Now to COVID-19 update. As global cases of COVID-19 exceed 16 million, Kim Jong-un says coronavirus may have entered North Korea. Joyce Ometu has a review of the pandemic in the past week.
The World Health Organization says more than 1 million cases of coronavirus have been recorded in each of the last 5 weeks. In a statement, WHO added that the rise is driven by high transmission in large and populous countries in the United States and South Asia. Meanwhile, data published by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. local time says there are now 16,298,123 cases of COVID-19, with 650,003 fatalities. The number of infections globally increased by more than 1.7 million, while more than 43,000 fatalities were recorded in the week under review. And reports from North Korea says the country's leader, Kim Jong-un, convened an emergency meeting Sunday after a person suspected of having COVID-19 returned illegally from South Korea. If confirmed, it would be the first case officially acknowledged by North Korean authorities. Now, this is coming as South Africa's Trade Minister Ibrahim Patel tested positive for COVID-19. He is the fourth minister to contract the virus in Africa's hardest hit country. Continent-wide, figures released by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. local time indicates that Africa has 834,005 cases, 17,588 deaths, and 488,445 patients recovered. Out of these numbers, Nigeria accounts for 39,977 cases, 16,948 persons discharged, and 856 deaths recorded. A review of daily reports by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that a total of 2,010 patients were discharged during the week, and 3,870 new cases recorded, while 78 persons unfortunately lost their lives. And that's it from here. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thank you so much, Joyce. In order to help cushion the effect of the coronavirus pandemic ravaging the world, wife of the President Aisha Buhari has provided palliatives and some empowerment tools to women in Osun State through her Future Assured program. Joshua Ogunjide reports that the wife of the governor carried out the presentation on behalf of the First Lady Aisha Buhari.
No fewer than 1,500 women benefited from the relief materials donated by the First Lady Aisha Buhari. 40 hair dryers were also given to some selected hairstylists to boost their skills. The palliatives and empowerment tools to artisans under the Future Assured program of the First Lady are to assist the less privileged to cushion the effect of COVID-19. Represented by the Southwest Zonal Coordinator of Future Assured program, Mrs. Buhari urged beneficiaries to make judicious use of the empowerment tools so as to be self-reliant. Wife of the Osun State Governor, Mrs. Kafeatu Etola, appreciated the First Lady for counting Osun women worthy of such gesture, saying Osun women would continue to support the APC government at all levels.
I want them to make proper use of this. This empowerment is not to be sold. We must use it very well.
The gesture is expected to assist women to mitigate the economic hardship as a result of COVID-19 in Osun State. In Osogbo, Joshua Okjede, NTA News.
And a break from COVID-19, President Muhammadu Buhari warmly felicitates with multi-talented artist and veteran broadcaster Julie Coker on her 80th birthday. In a statement, the president congratulates the Yeye Tour of Lagos iconic cultural ambassador and author for a sterling career in journalism, which started as a female broadcaster in Africa's first television station, Western Nigerian Television, Ibadan. In the same vein, President Muhammadu Buhari also felicitates with former Minister of Education and Waziri of Karkida Alhaji Dauda Birma as he also clocks 80. In a message to the celebrant on Sunday, the president says Nigeria has gained significantly from its insights into policy matters in his many years of public service and through his participation in the evolution of a democratic experience. President Buhari expresses his appreciation to Alhaji Birma for his passion towards the poor in his community and beyond. He prays God to bless the octogenarians with long life and healthy lives as they continue to make life better for others. Let's now talk sports. Sports enthusiasts in Akwa Ibom State want more individuals involved in maintenance of sports infrastructure as EPL ends. Amanzi Marcus has details on sports updates.
Sports stakeholders in Akwa Ibom State have commended